Hey, this is Colby Strong, Blaze on Power Rangers Beast Morphers on Nickelodeon, and you are listening to the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Colby, welcome to the cave.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good, man. What's going on with you, man? What's new?
Oh, just living the dream, quote unquote. No, I'm just out here in New Zealand right now filming Power Rangers Beast Morphers, currently on season 2. And we've been here about 7 months and about 2 more months to go, and then we're going to wrap this thing up.
How's it? Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Let's talk about originally, like, where you originally from.
Yeah, so I am from Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right. How was it growing up there?
Yeah, it's a really, really awesome place. I grew up and didn't really get into acting until I was about 13, kind of found my thing, and it started in musical theater, I guess. And kind of from there, just through doing community theater, and then slowly got introduced to an agent, and then kind of got introduced to more of, the film scene, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And then from there went to college, and it was just, it's a great place. And I feel like it was a great place to start the career, because a lot of films come through there because it's really inexpensive to film there, I guess, as well as it's a really big, has a really big demographic for musical theater. So it was a really good artsy place to kind of get started. It's really awesome.
So you said you started acting at 13. What pursued you? Like, what made you one day say, I want to get into acting? This is what I want to do.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny story. I never really found my kind of thing, if you will. And I was raised by a family of women, and all of them played sports growing up, and then they all ended up being cops. So I'm kind of the black sheep of the family, if you will. And so, I think they put me in every sport for a day. And even it got to the point where it was like, let's put him into gymnastics and try that. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, let's put him into, oh, that didn't work. You know what I mean? Like, they tried everything under the sun, except theater, which was so interesting. But I think it's just because they didn't know, it wasn't something they were used to or had been exposed to. So anyway, I kind of found it myself. I was 13, I was in 7th grade, and a friend of mine that I had just recently made, she was like, hey, are you thinking about trying out for the school musical? And I was like, no, that's stupid. Only dumb people do that. You know what I mean? Like, I had such a cold feeling about it for no reason. I don't even know why. I guess I was just trying to be like a cool 13-year-old guy or something, right? And so anyway, then she convinced me. And I was like, okay. So then I got cast, and it was 7 brides for 7 brothers, and there's literally 14 leads, and I got cast as the 15th boy as the preacher. Like, I must have sucked, is what I'm saying. And so, and slowly I just kind of fell in love with it. But it was always like a hobby, it was always something that I was just doing for fun, never something I think I would actually do for a career. And then, but then from there, I convinced myself halfway through college. I was doing pre-med at the time, like crazy. I was minoring in theater because, again, it was still a hobby, but it was never something I was like, oh, I can make a living and like raise kids on this. I'm kind of that person. Want to make sure that I'm like secure for life kind of thing. Not just, I don't really just fly by the seat of my pants. So anyway, I was just trying to prepare and plan. And then all of a sudden it hit me one day, junior year. And I was like, I could do this. I think I can make this work. I think I'm good enough. And from there, it's just kind of been a whirlwind. And gosh, now I'm in New Zealand filming. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. So while you were a kid, what else were you into? You said you tried out sports. Was there like a certain sport that you enjoyed playing, or?
No, and I think that's the point, right? Like, I tried a lot of different things for like one a day. I did soccer for a day, and I was like, nah. And I tried out for the school basketball team because that was what the cool guys did, but I sucked and I wasn't good at it, and neither did I really actually like it. I was just trying to be, cool. It was like the typical 2000s type of, like story. But which is awesome that everything's changing now. You know, I don't feel like kids are probably as pressured. Maybe not. I'm not in junior high anymore, but it seems like the world is kind of like easing up on the stereotype, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it kind of just found me. But yeah, I didn't really like, me and my family were very close, very small family. And so I think it was just a lot of like family oriented stuff. It was never like, oh, we got to get him to soccer practice and then he's got to go do this. Like I was never that kid until I was 13 and I was just doing a lot of rehearsals.
So when you were in college, you said your junior year, you knew you were going to go into acting. Did you finish college before you took off for the acting world?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, I mean, I was going to this like pretty expensive private liberal arts college. And I mean, like I said, I was halfway through pre-med and I was like, I mean, and I wasn't in love with it, but I mean, I didn't not like it. It just was different. You know, I wasn't like crazy passionate about acting or like I am about acting. So, yeah, it was, sorry, will you say the question again? Just want to make sure
I said that so when you were your junior year in college and you knew you wanted to go to acting,
right?
Like, did you finish school and you took off? Right?
Yeah. Sorry, I always get sidetracked a little bit. So yeah, I was like, when it hit me, and I was like, no, I'm going to major in acting. I just put pre-med to the side, and since I was minoring in acting, I didn't I didn't really skip a beat. I just changed majors, but I had already fulfilled all the requirements to graduate in 4 years. So I graduated college. I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting, and I graduated in 2016. And then from there, I was like, I'm just going to chill for a sec and explore around the theater community in Utah. Plus, I was just trying to build up my credits. But back then, I also wanted to go to New York and do theater and plays. You know, that's kind of where my focus was. But it wasn't until everyone told me, just go out to LA and see if you like it. See if you like it. And so I was like, I don't know why I didn't want to go to LA because I'd never been there. I didn't even know anything about it. But I was like, okay, I guess I'll go and just try it. And it took me about 24 hours for me to, fall in love with it. So yeah, it was really awesome. And it hit me and I was like, no, like I want to do film. And I had already, got a couple credits under my belt from, Utah stuff and guest stars and co-stars that have come through Utah. So that's why I felt confident enough to be like, no, I can do this. I can do the film thing.
So when you went to LA, what was Power Rangers the first thing you booked? Or did you book cameos and stuff like that in other shows?
Well, I mean, so technically in Los Angeles, Power Rangers was the first thing I booked. Okay. But I still kept my Utah agent back in Utah. So they were getting me, I mean, I felt like I was on a really good foot in Utah. Like there's only one casting director there. Like there's a couple smaller ones, but they don't do any of the big broad projects. Yeah. So there's the one big casting director in Utah, which is so funny to even talk about being one casting director. Anyway, he's amazing. And I have a great relationship with him. And, he was calling me in for a lot of things. And so I was constantly getting work in Utah while living in LA. So I booked 3 things, which was really great. Oh gosh, I don't even remember, 2 or 3. One of them was like a Hallmark film. And I literally got the email that I booked it the day I got to LA when I moved in October, which is so funny. So I had to plan my flight back to Utah. It was just funny. And then another thing was a web series on Go 90 that unfortunately Go 90 isn't a thing anymore, but now they're trying to do film festival stuff with the footage and making it into a film, which is really exciting because they were just at South by Southwest. So yeah, good things, but nothing through LA, which actually isn't a surprise. It's more cutthroat, obviously, in Los Angeles, and I was still trying to, get my feet underneath me and understand what my life was going to be like in Los Angeles. So it took a little while auditioning, going through a lot, trying to understand myself as an auditioner and where my career was going and everything. And then that's when I auditioned for Power Rangers in April of 2018. And then from there, the audition process was about 4 months. So
how did you get approached for that project? And tell us a little about the audition.
Oh my gosh. I love this question the most because it's the craziest story. It's just a lot. It's not your normal, I just walked in, I booked it. I originally went in to all the listeners that know the show. Ben, who is the comedic duo male role, I got an audition for, like, my manager called me. She said, "You're going in for Power Rangers." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Awesome." And she's like, "Well, it's not for a ranger. It's for the comedic role." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Send me the character description." So she sends me the character description, and it's like, it's for sure for a character actor. It's, you know, it was like really skinny 5'7" kid. Like, they wanted like this kind of quirky guy to do all the comedic stuff for the comedic relief.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, it's fine. I can try to do it. I just know that that's not my typecast. And obviously, if you see Blaze as, like, if you see me as Blaze, you definitely know that I'm not going to play Ben in the show. So I was like, I mean, I'm 6 foot. I'm like way taller than anybody in the cast already. Like, I already know I'm like the opposite of what that was. And so I was like, "Okay, can I get the sides for a ranger?" And she's like, "Okay, they're out. Like, I can give you the sides, but go in and audition for Ben. Like, don't go in and, you know, dressed as a ranger or anything." And I was like, "Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I just want to prepare them just so I can ask them to read for it." So I go in, and I did not listen to anything my manager said. Bless her heart, love her to death. But I was like, "No, I'm going to take this risk because I know I'm not going to get cast as a comedic duo." And that's just something that, you know, I had to know for myself and know my business and like the business of Colby Strong and know the best like business move to take. And that was the one. And I was like, "No, I'm going to go in dressed as like a good looking teen boy." And I wore like a red shirt, and I like looked all like good, you know, for a ranger, you know. And I went in and I read for it. It was really great. And then I asked if I could read for a ranger, and they said, "We're not reading yet." Adam Weissman, who's the assistant to Iris Hampton, casting director, he said, "You know, I really like your look. You have a great read. Let me forward your tape over, but I don't know. I can't guarantee anything." And I was like, "No worries. That's just all I wanted to, you know." He's like, "But yeah, I'll forward your tape over." Amazing. So I didn't hear anything for a month. So I was like, shoot, I didn't get that one. And then a month later, I'm in Hawaii with my family, and I get an email saying they want to see you as a Power Ranger. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." So from there, it just was, you know, it escalated to something really insane. I went in and I performed this terrible 30-minute routine for like to show if I could do stunt work. And I had never punched a thing in my life. So, I mean, I was terrible. And everybody knows like Taekwondo, and like, you should see the YouTube submissions for this show. And I was like, "Oh, there's no way I'll get this." But they saw something in me. They were like, "You know, we really like your look. We like your, you know, you can act well. We just need you to stunt train." So they sent me to a guy who a lot of the Rangers trained with, XMA action stunts in Los Angeles. And they had us go train with him. And I trained for 2 months total, doing this all out of pocket. Like, it was kind of just this investment that was like, you know, "Hey, you can do as much training as you want. You have to pay for it, but, you know, I'll see you in 2 months at the screen test." There was a producer session in between, but yeah, he just kept saying like, keep training, I'll see you at the screen test. So 2 months later, screen test, there was top 24 people there. And, you know, it was like, all I remember is Jacqueline Sosowski, who is the Yellow Ranger. Her and I were in the room, and we're looking around, and we were like, "Oh wow, we don't really have any competition," because there was no tall white blonde guys. And she said the same thing about girls. She was like, "There's no blonde white girls here. Like, maybe I have a chance." And then we looked at each other, friends. We were already friends, and we were like, "We're each other's competition. Like, we're the white blonde person." And we were like, "Dang, like, I really like you. I wish we could work together, but it's either you or I." And then we both got cast, which is just insane, because they didn't have the role of Blaze out, and we just thought we were auditioning for Rangers. So, I mean, it was just crazy. And then I didn't get a Ranger, and I got the call, but then they said they wanted me to audition for the villain. And I was like, I don't really want to wear a big suit and act all funny. And you know what I mean? Like, I totally thought the Blaze was going to be something else, and then ended up being the best decision that I could have ever had. So then I got the yes. And after a quick audition for Blaze, and yeah, I know I gave you the really like
no, this is
long
great.
version,
This is great.
but it was quite a story.
Tell us about that 2 month training, man. How was that?
You know, it was pretty intense. And one really hard and vulnerable thing is that when we started stunt training with Alpha Stunt Team, when we got out here in New Zealand, the 8 of us were training with them to prepare for the next 9 months of filming. I definitely was the weakest link. Like everybody was kind of killing it, and not even kind of, they were killing it. Everybody was so good, and it just kind of clicked. But for some reason, my body just wasn't moving that way, and it was really, really difficult for me. And so I was like, that time I was just flying by the seat of my pants, hoping I could make it work. But it was really intimidating, considering that Blaze was technically the best cadet out of Grid Battle Force to then deserve to become the Red Ranger if, you or the viewers have seen the first episode. And so, like, I had to be the best. And that was really intimidating because I was the worst at stunts. So I was like, I have a lot of work to do, and it was a lot of pressure. Yeah. But I wouldn't be here if I didn't put every second of training into those 2 months for the audition. Mm. And it was every day. I was like, it was just so exhausting. And I was out in the middle of my plaza of my apartment complex alone, recording my fight. Like, I'm fighting to the camera. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Everyone can see out their window and see me fighting to my iPhone. Like, it's embarrassing, but yeah. I was like, it will pay off if I get the role. Exactly. It's going to be worth it. And then it did. So, I had to push I had to push my boundaries and my, a lot of my insecurities, but it was so worth it in the end. So,
were you a fan of Power Rangers growing up?
I was, actually. So I'm the oldest of the cast. It's quite funny talking about the franchise with them because I could talk about like my little era that I had, when I was growing up, and half of them are too young to have gone through it. So it's kind of funny that I'm like the only one that's like, yes, Power Rangers, yeah. But yes, I grew up like, I vividly remember watching the Mighty Morphin movie and the Turbo movie and Power Rangers in Space, both the series and the movie, Lost Galaxy movie. Like, that was kind of my little era. I always had the toys. That was kind of always the thing. So yeah, it is quite funny, like looking back and remember playing with the Magna Defender, like literally the figure. I can remember it so much from Lost Galaxy. And then now I'm a villain myself. It's wild.
Now, for the listeners that haven't seen the show yet, can you tell them a little bit about it, like what this story is of the Rangers?
Yeah, I don't quote me on anything. I'm not really that. It's quite complicated, but we're technically we're living in a world where we're trying to find a better energy source that's more clean, green energy. Kind of something that probably our world would be living in too. So the morphing grid, which is how the Power Rangers morph and use that energy has been made now into a liquid called MorphX. And now MorphX is being distributed across the world as a clean green energy source that, is zero emissions kind of thing, right? So very futuristic. And what happens is there's this villain named Evox, and he's trying to steal this MorphX to take over the world. Because if he attains enough of it, he could potentially use that same big, energy source to, like I said, take over the world.
Yeah.
So what happens is we have this place called Grid Battle Force, which is something like, I just tell people it's like the Pentagon kind of thing. Like it's to protect the MorphX like system, all of the energy, because, people could try to steal it and stuff. And it's this really awesome energy source, blah, blah, blah. So it's called Grid Battle Force. And there are cadets that trained at Grid Battle Force to become Power Rangers to protect the morphing grid itself and the MorphX. And that is me, Roxy, and Ravi. And what happens is Evox gets into the system and he takes over me and Roxy's bodies, and we become avatars. And now we are technically morphed with Evox, and now we're evil and want to help him, steal the MorphX and stuff. So long story short, there's a new yellow and red Power Ranger. They come in, and now it's us, battling to who can save it and save the world, I guess. That's kind of my dummy's version of explaining it.
So now you play Blaze. How would you explain that character?
Oh, Blaze. We gotta love him. It's kind of hard to explain because I'm also most of the season I'm not human, so it's hard to explain that, sometimes Blaze's his choices that he makes or something might not be justified in like human reasoning, whereas like if I'm playing some drama character in some, everything's justified and rooted in reality.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to when you're playing somebody that literally is, he morphs into a bad guy. It kind of gets really muddled with what's real and what, is fantasy. But the first episode, I really got to, I had 2 scenes of good Blaze before I went evil. And I got to really, that's what I got to use to really create this character to then, move him forward and have, start an arc, if you will. But Blaze cares about his career. He's ambitious. He is, like I said, he was training to be a cadet and was the Red Ranger. He was the best out of everybody. He was the best.
Yeah.
And so he's ambitious, and the only thing he has is that. And I think that's why I made the decision that, Blaze doesn't really have much of a, if you will, and, this is the way that he finds purpose in life. And so then people start coming in and threatening that, Devin, the first scene, if people and viewers watch it, the first scene, he kind of gets threatened, and he gets very territorial over that. And so that's kind of the best way for me to explain it. But then when he goes viral, he's not a nice guy. Like, you don't want to mess with him. He's kind of a badass.
Yeah. Would you be friends with Blaze if he was real?
Oh my gosh, no, I could never. Which is great. I love that I'm playing somebody that I'm not. He's just so like, I don't really like people that aren't. Let me think. No, this sounds so like dramatic. I don't really appreciate impulsive people. I like, I try to think through my situations before I act on them, and Blaze does not do that. He fully rides off of every emotion that he feels and just goes at it. So he's very impulsive. So any feeling that he feels, that he goes for it, and that is something that I don't usually hang around people like that. So,
yeah. Do you have a favorite scene that you were in on the show so far?
There is this really awesome scene, episode 12. I can't say much about what happens, but I get to do my first unmorphed fight, which is really exciting. I'm not going to share everything, but something really awesome happens, and I have my first like unmorphed villain fight with one of the characters, and that's really exciting. And right before that, I kind of have this monologue, which is really awesome, because when you have quick turnaround television show for kids, you don't really get the liberties to sit and have a monologue,
Yeah.
So they do cut back and forth to different characters, but you can hear me saying the whole monologue, which is really exciting. And I'm just saying, like, like I said, he runs off of his emotions, so he's really pleasant and just kind of like, I can destroy all of you, and I won't even bat an eyelash, and it's kind of fun. It was really fun to kind of play with, and then have him go 0 to 100 and then be super furious and then attack everybody, So that was kind of a fun scene to do, because like I said, not always do we get to play that much, because sometimes you have to get the exposition across, and we got to move on because there's only 23 minutes of each episode. Yeah. So that was something really fun for me. So I'm excited for everyone to get to see that.
How fun is it filming in New Zealand? And did you know that it was going to get filmed in New Zealand?
So when we auditioned, it did say that filming was in New Zealand, which was beyond wild. I remember just being like, what? Like, that's insane. Like, that would be the coolest job ever. And it is really amazing out here. It's quite, it's not just like, hey, I got to go work and then come home.
Yeah.
We also have to face all of, learning how to move across the world. And this is, I think, everybody's first huge job. And so it's just not something anybody's used to. So it was like, okay, now we got to move across the world and learn how to get an apartment in New Zealand, which is, it could be different. Like, every little thing kind of adds up. And so it was quite an overwhelming experience at the first, but it really has been so amazing, and being able to travel when we get to and film on amazing locations. I don't want to give anything away, but we do film on really awesome locations. I'll just say that, especially in season 2. So everybody keep an eye out for that.
So you're a young actor, and you got into the acting world at a young age. What kind of advice do you give to somebody that comes up to you, that you talk to them and they want to get into the acting world? What do you tell them?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I get this question a lot, and and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but out of everything I could say, easily enough, I just tell people, a lot of people, well, we all have the right to complain about how crazy this business is. I do it as well. We all have to vent about how hard it is, but it just depends on how much you love it to keep going. And it's really hard, but I just tell people that, be the hardest working person and success will come. Like 100%. That's what I'll tell people. Because the biggest thing that I got when I got cast and I've been able to share this awesome journey with everybody, I just keep hearing, you deserve it. You work so hard. You deserve it. I keep hearing that from every single person that I know, because people know how much work I put in. This wasn't quick, easy success. No matter if it sounds like I was in LA for 9 months, it could sound like I just got something because I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, but I had this foundational 13 years of work that I had put in prior, of just hard work and efficient work, though. I wouldn't say just go out and do everything you can. You got to be smart about what business decisions you're making. And I kind of keep mentioning that, and that's the other part that I'll bring up is I think a lot of actors think that this is just, it depends on how far you want to go. But if you want to go all the way and you want to be super successful in the industry in Hollywood, I would say I think the biggest thing to realize is you're more of a businessman than an actor. I can't tell you how many phone calls and emails, and it's all those things, and building your team, like learning about how to become incorporated, and then taxes. And it's not complaining. It's just there's all, and then people think the actors just show up on set and act. Yeah. And I would say that is like the last thing that I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I always say this quote, but I love it. Michael B. Jordan, Creed 2, he had an interview and he said, the only time I act is between action and cut. And it's so true. I can't explain how true, because that's the only time I'm ever acting. I am doing character work on the side, and that's just one of the little things, but I think a lot of people just are like, that's what I need to get to. I just need to get to where I'm acting a lot. But even then, I'm doing a million things. I'm on this phone call with you. There's a lot of things that you have to do to build your business to then receive more work.
Correct.
So I would say keep striving and keep pushing and work super hard and efficiently and meet a bunch of people. But at the same time, if you need to, take a business one-on-one class at your local community college. Find someone in the business that knows something and ask them for their advice, pick their brain. Like, just gather as much knowledge as you can, because truly, this business isn't impossible. It's definitely possible to make and get something, but you have to be willing to work day in and day out.
You're right about
on
that.
Like crazy amount of hours.
Do you have like a dream role that you want to play someday?
Not like specifically like I'm holding on to some story that I want to play, even though I probably should. But just in general, like my goal is I want to be doing drama. Like, I want to be on an HBO series, or I want to be on a Netflix original, or I really like the gritty stuff, which is so funny coming from, like, I'm on Nickelodeon kids show.
Yeah.
But, I just care about being super truthful in my acting. And so that is something that I'm striving for and getting to in the future. And I would hope that I come off that way as Blaze as well. Like, I try to put a lot of realistic qualities into him, and I'm trying to make the show as great as it can be. And I hope, like I said, that comes through. So I hope in the future that, it'll be something in the drama category in feature film or something.
On your downtime, what are some of the things you enjoy doing now?
I right before I auditioned for Rangers a year ago, I had this really big conversation with my friend where I'm a workaholic. I eat, sleep, breathe work, and I love it. And I have this friend, and he was like, dude, like, you need to find something else to do, like, as a hobby. And he's like, what's your hobby? And I'm like, it's always been acting, because that's what it started out as. It was a hobby, right? And now it's like a full blown job. Like, it's a job. And so now I'm trying. I'm like, okay, you need to be able to set this aside now, or you're going to go crazy. and even though I just want to move on to the next project and the next one and the next one and just work, I am still trying to find now what hobbies I want to have, So to answer your question, I don't necessarily have like something that I'm like, oh, that's what I love doing. Wow, I can't talk today. That's what I love going to do aside from work. But I will say that, I'm big into fitness. I go to the gym every day. I love that whole side of like, I don't know, health, I guess, physical health. I love longboarding, like that stuff. I don't really get to it a lot. But I will say that, I was right before Power Rangers, I was going to start taking surfing lessons and like have that be my hobby. And then Power Rangers came along and then I trained and did that for 2 months straight. So I was able to, to learn how to surf. And then all of a sudden I got cast and now I'm out here. So hopefully if I have some downtime after filming, I'll pick up surfing as a hobby. That's the goal.
Yeah, that's great, man. Because you don't want to burn yourself out too.
I know it's bad, but this is literally my entire life. People tell me that every day. It's like, hey, you gotta take care of yourself. And I'm like, I'm great. I really am. And it's funny. I've been doing it, since literally maybe 17. I just haven't stopped and I love it. That's so great. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media? And are you very active with the fans?
Yes. I give so much homage to the fans. I would not have a job. This amazing franchise would not be where it is today, 26 years later, the fans. So I really try to do my part and appreciate them as much as I can. I am on social media. I am on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, Colby James Strong, and Twitter, Colby J Strong. And Twitter, we try to stay really active because it is a lot quicker and easier just to like shout things out and stuff. But the fan base is enormous and amazing, and everybody just cares about this awesome show. And it sounds like we're doing a good job. The fans are happy with Beast Morphers, and so I couldn't be happier.
That's great. I want to thank you for coming on, man. This was fun.
Hey, Elias, thank you so much for having me.